We are live. Can you believe it that we are live in Belonging in Business? And we are live on we're live on Facebook, we're live on Twitch and Twitter, and on Instagram. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And I'm on my own for now. There's somebody coming in on a train to North Wales. They say that North Wales is raining this morning, and it isn't here. I'm in South Wales and I'm in Cardiff. I'm Mandy-Jayne, and we are, even though it's Saturday morning and we are always in Belonging in Business, I'm not sure that people expected it to be on a Saturday morning on the bank holiday weekend. But it's great to see everybody in the chat. It's great to see everybody arriving. It's great to be here. And I'm just going to relax just a tiny bit because I was just a little bit hurried on the way in. I've had breakfast to make. I've got guests. It's that weekend when we're just a little bit more relaxed, aren't we? We're just maybe not on it quite as much. But this morning we are on it because we're in Belonging in Business, and we're talking about, well, it says there something that you might not be able to pronounce. LLais. If anyone can tell me in the chat what that word means, I think I already told you. If anyone tells me in the chat what that means, then they might win a prize. I've already got somebody in the audience that I am due to send a guided meditation to. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is not because I want to tell you I've been tardy and I haven't sent the thing that they bought for me, bought from us. They've actually raising money. Let me just show you. That human in the audience is raising money for this organisation. So I'm MJ, and I am the founder of and participator of Inclusion.me. Now, Inclusion used to be called Yell SOS. That was a charity. It is a charity, not was. And yesterday, this is news, yesterday our charity was, there's a word, reconstituted. Now, the reason it needed to be reconstituted is because that's inclusion, is because it's nearly 12 years old. And during COVID 2019, I got very, very ill, and I was intubated for many, many weeks in York District General Hospital, and I was beauty sleep with a DNAR. That's a do not artificially resuscitate. And as a result, my family were told to get ready to say goodbye. Now, at the time, I was running a charity and a company. The company was Learning Societies and Personalised Learning Services. They were two companies that provided not only disabled students allowance services, but access to work provision. And we also ran Yell SOS. And Yell SOS is inclusion, in that it was the first iteration of inclusion. And Yell SOS did what it said on the tin. People shouted help, yell, SOS, and we responded. I trained a group of community citizen advocates in helping people understand what their lived experience meant. And by that I mean I'm a disabled person. I use a wheelchair. I have a number of wheelchairs. I provide wheelchairs through my paid work. We help people get access to personal mobility devices with this company. That's our Access to Work company. And we help people apply for their access to work when they come to us through that website. They make that application. So if you are going to work, if you are starting a job, if you've just started one, even if you have made your application to access to work, we can provide for you through that website strategy, coping, support. Now, I've been providing coping strategy support since 2003 with access to work, because actually it was something that I designed through lifespan planning. What happened was I had individuals who came to me that were frightened of losing their job, couldn't speak up, didn't feel they could speak to HR, had disabilities felt that their disabilities back in the noughties were preventing them from continuing to access work, or was preventing them from doing things at work that other people were doing, and they didn't know how to say it. And when they did say it, mostly people said, what are you moaning about? Now, a modern day example of that, which sounds a little bit churlish, but it's just fact, is that I'm training to be a social worker right now. And in all 3 places that I've gone to be on placement, there's been no lift. Now, that hasn't mean I haven't got access to an office, because there have been people downstairs, secretarial offices and places where we get our filing cabinets. And then there's been places where the individuals we support are, where often in a day opportunity centre, in the room. But if we're having meetings and things, then it's good to have a space. And all the social workers live upstairs in all of the organisations that I've been in so far. Or the staff room, so not the individuals we support, but the space where staff go to eat their lunch, for example, just isn't big enough for me to get. So because individual places aren't individually designed for accessibility, just like the hospitals, I'll be honest, I was under this illusion 3 years ago that all the university had to do, she said, being naive, was put me in a hospital, because a hospital placement's really accessible, right? Well, why didn't anybody tell me, when I was saying such foolhardy things, that the back office of a hospital isn't like the front? So the hospital is accessible to the public, but that doesn't mean that the workplaces are accessible. So here I am, training to be a social worker. Here I am, working with a fantastic group of organisations and people, and if you want to come, then I can put a link into the chat. I wonder if I've got it on link. I might even be able to do something very posh and ask somebody else to put in the links in the chat for Monday morning at 6 o'clock. We meet on Clubhouse in MJ's house, and on Monday night we meet in Inclusion on Clubhouse in the Inclusion House with inclusion.gg, which are all of the individuals who come to Inclusion who are looking towards workfulness and looking towards collective action. And they've worked with me to help the Access to Work programme. That's this one, the one that we get paid to help you with from central government to access the help that you need for work, all those things that I talked about, the no lift, and maybe you need a support worker, and perhaps you'd like taxis to work, or perhaps you've got a motability vehicle and you need some help with adaptations for that. Maybe you want taxis to work, and that would be helpful to you. Perhaps coping strategy support, which what that means is that we ask for 12 2-hour sessions of your coping strategy support generally, if you have complex disabilities, because that's a couple of hours a month. That's maybe half an hour a week, or an hour every 2 weeks, or over the 12 months, to help you in your new job, help strategize your new job, help you strategize the workplace. And if you're self-employed, then understand where you need to be by the end of the first 12 months, in that you have to be making that minimum income guarantee if you want to stay on supported permitted work, and you want to have the your welfare benefits in place. That's your employment support allowance, and you want to keep your ESA. All of those things can happen if you're self-employed and your income from that employ, wherever it is that you are working, they give it you as a self-employed person, like as a consultant, which everybody can be paid that way if the organisation allows it. That money goes into a pot. Say you get 7 grand, then any expenses from that pot would then come off that £7,000 that you spent, travel, etc. And then that income would be declared to the Department for Works and Pensions over the year. We declare it every month, and then as long as you stay within those parameters in that first year particularly, and sometimes beyond that, depending if you're chronically sick and disabled, you're able to keep on that safety net of the welfare benefits, but also you're allowed to start doing some workfulness under supported permitted work, which allows you, well, in my opinion, it allows you a voice. And that's what this belonging in business is about today. It's about voice. And although I'm Mandy-Jayne Lace, and that says LLais, that's not how you spell my name. My name is LACE, like shoelace or knickerlace, lace, you know, that frilly stuff. Not LLais, which actually is the word for voice in Welsh. Now, I'm not Welsh. I'm not even Wenglish. I came from, well, Tunbridge Wells. I lived in Yorkshire all of my life, and then I moved to Cardiff 3 years ago. I moved for the degree. I moved to be near family, and I moved because I wanted to challenge myself. I'd lived in Scarborough since the age of, well, I left home very early, but I was married. I was living with somebody in Scarborough from under the age of 20, so I was a teenager. There we go. I was a teenager when I moved to Scarborough, and I'm not a teenager now. And so I lived in Scarborough right until 2021. So 71, 81, 89, 90, 90, 31 years. So I lived in Scarborough for 30 years. So for 30 years, now you know, hold on. For 30 years, I lived in Scarborough and I moved to Wales to challenge myself. I moved to Wales to find my voice. I moved to Wales to help others access theirs. I moved to Wales to prove that what I was asking other people to do, which was change their entire everything, not who and what and how they were, but how they moved through the world, well then I moved to Wales to help people see that I would do what I said on the tin. Because moving here meant that I was a single voice, that I lived in a single room, that I went to a university with no one I'd ever met, with everyone I'd never met, there we are, in a city that I didn't know anyone. And I was terrified of driving here. Terrified. So I'm Mandy-Jayne. I run Access to Work services for Accessibility Partners, which is a company that I began when I moved to Wales in 2021. I also already had the charity that I'd been heading for 15 years, but, well, it's 12 years old, but I'd been doing it 3 years before we incorporated. And all of that, my company, the charity, all of the buildings I had, all of the staff that I employed, lots of them, when I was long-term in hospital, all had to be taken apart. But when I came to Wales to find my voice, I worked again in DSA, Disabled Students Allowance. So for those that don't know about going to university, come to Inclusion on a Monday night. We talk about all things DSA, Disabled Students Allowance, Universal Credit, PIP, accessing disabled facilities grants, how you get the your NHS continuing healthcare, what that might mean with supported permitted work, what is access to work, how do we do it. Last Monday we had 20 questions about access to work. If you do want to go and have a look at any of that footage, then we are on all of these media programs that we are: Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, I'm looking above, X, Instagram. If you go on our YouTube channel, I think there's about 60 hours of footage. So if you want to be hearing my dulcet tone for the whole of Bank Holiday weekend, then I think there's enough footage that you could probably binge out on Inclusion footage. And also on Clubhouse, if you go on Clubhouse and find Inclusion and find MJ's house, which is where we go on a Monday morning, then again there is about 2 years back catalogues of Inclusion and about a year of back catalogues of MJ's house. And again, if you go and have a look at where we are on Facebook, there's lots of footage on there. And for those on Facebook this morning, good morning. It's great to see you. So I haven't even got to start it, have I? I haven't even told you what I mean by voice. I've just told you that we got here in Wales, in Cardiff, helping myself to go to university as a disabled student and as a disabled employee and now as a disabled employer. And I'm also a disabled volunteer. I'm also a trainee social worker. All of those things. I'm also a carer, okay, for disabled offspring. So I'm all of those positions, and in all of them I need my voice. And as a disabled people, people, as a disabled, well, I am a disabled person. I'm also a disabled people because I should have been a twin. So as a disabled people, Mandy-Jayne, as it says on the tin, MJ, I need to find my way through the world using the power of my voice, but also using the power of my social capital achievement. I can achieve social capital, and voice is about achieving social capital. Good morning, everybody. It's great to see everybody. Really great. So social capital is achieved when we find our voice. What do I mean by social capital? Well, I mean by the way we move through the world and the connections that we have with the people that we get to know and the things that they can help us do. Because I'm not so good on my own. I just think we're better when we go together, when we work together. In fact, in inclusion, we have a bit of a tagline in that if you want to find inclusion, you need to be on inclusion.gg. The reason that we call it inclusion.gg, the reason that we have just done that wrong, haven't it? It's not inclusion.me, it's inclusion.gg. I made a boo-boo. So if I was going to give you the actual website, she's going to have to do this right now. Let's see if I get it right. Let's see if I've done it. Then that's where you need to be going. So for all of those that have gone to .me, I am so sorry. The reason for that is because we are playing a good game. And by that, I don't mean that we're lying. I don't mean that we're making it up. I mean that we're learning the rules of all of the games that we have to play in order that we can play fair and square, right? You don't want people cheating, do you, at Monopoly or at cards or at a disabled life. We don't need all of the organisations to try and find out how to prevent us getting access. We need them all to help us show how we can get access. Like, it's really important. So inclusion.gg are a group of people who helped me deal with the Access to Work programme during COVID, because when I moved to Wales during COVID and I applied for my job and I got it, and I did, you know, I've got quite a few qualifications. I'm a SEND-CO. That's a specific educational needs coordinator. That means I had to do 2 master's degrees actually to do that, and my postgraduate certificate in education. So I had to become a teacher. I had to teach in a college and in a school, and I had to be observed and passed as competent. And then I had to go and learn about special educational needs, specific ones like dyslexia and dyspraxia and autism and ADHD. I'm a member of a group, and I facilitated one of our member of our group to access their official diagnosis. By that, I do the screening assessments for many of those conditions as an LLais in Wales. That's an additional learning needs coordinator, or a SEND-CO in England, which is a specific educational needs and disabilities coordinator. So I can do those, and I do as part of people's strategy coping support, because I believe that coping strategy support should be multifaceted, it should be deeply engaging, and it should be absolutely emancipating. It should free us from the challenges of the built environment, of the inaccessibility of work, not overcoming our disability, because that's not possible, but overcoming the effects of the world that wasn't created for us to be part of us. I don't need to overcome the effects of my disability. I am who I am, and I like every part of me, every last part of me, failed and foibled too. What I need to get over is the fact that I can't get places, for example, on the tube, because it's not accessible even though there are lift shafts. So, voice, or why we're here talking about access to work, or why we're here talking about being part of inclusion, or why we're even here saying who I am, is not because I wanted to go online and start a GoFundMe to make money for disabled people. That wasn't it. It isn't even that I really like being on social media, because I don't. In 8 weeks' time, I'm going to be on a comedy club stage to be funny for 5 minutes to raise money for inclusion. Those tickets aren't out yet, but they will be in about a week. In 6 weeks' time, on the 19th, I think it's 6 weeks, the 19th of June, Inclusion are going to be online all over the world and also face to face. But we're going to be live on a webinar, a pre-recorded webinar, but we'll also be live there to take any questions in the room live as it is being broadcast on the British Association of Social Workers annual conference. So who knows? Who is going to hear about voice? Well, everybody, one by one. And once that webinar's online on the Buzzword Conference website, then that will be able to be streamed again and again and again, just like this. So we are here to share our voice. We are also here to share your voice, our voice together, because just like Inclusion says, we are just better together, playing a good game. And the good game is understanding all of those things that we need, including access to work. Now, as a coping strategy support coach, what does that mean? What does it mean when I'm coaching somebody in coping strategies? Well, it's about finding their voice. And how do we find our voice? Well, the first thing we have to do is breathe. And from how we breathe to how we move to how we eat to how we speak to how we sleep to how we eliminate or poop. Eliminate via the breath or via the bottom. We have to learn to eat, move, sleep, drink, talk, speak, our voice, how we speak, write. It's no good me not getting enough sleep. It's no good me not drinking my Ganoderma. Actually, I don't just drink water. I drink reishi. I drink reishi coffee with Ganoderma lucidum, which is a mushroom. And I also, my eyes looked a bit shocking then. I also take lion's mane mushroom drops and different types of spores. I take stress drops that my functional medicine doctor prescribes, I guess the word is, which has a vitamin B complex in. I do lots of things, and in fact I'm talking to somebody in Wales who's been in the homeopathic and nutritional businesses since 1980, so that's 50 years, longer than I've been well, doing anything particularly useful. I wasn't doing a great deal at 2 or 3, except wandering around schools speaking French. That's what I was doing at 2 or 3. I don't know about you, but I wasn't dealing with functional medicine when I was 3. But this person was. And so I've shared with them all of the protocols that I'm part of, as far as the myriad of they're not here, the myriad of different natural things that I take. For example, for myself, melatonin is a very important natural supplement that helps my hormone levels on a night. It means that I get just the greatest sleep as a result of how I move, sleep, drink, think, and all of those products that I take. So we are literally raising money. The reason that we're raising money is because that access to work program that I talked about, well, I think it's very challenged, and I'll tell you for why. Because when we apply to access to work as a disabled person, I have to let access to work know how much money you're going to be earning. Now, sometimes we don't know that, do we? If we start in business, I didn't know that our organisation, Accessibility Partners, on a2w.me, so access to work me, or you can also get there by looking up accessibilitypartners.co.uk, but it's just long, and if you're dyslexic you've got to find out how many C's and S's. It's a bit of a test, you see. If you can get people to write accessibility partners, I know whether they likely to have specific learning differences, aren't I? Because they might not know how to spell it. So it's a good test. It's a good litmus test. But the reason that we're here in a juxtaposition, in a difference, in a difficulty of having that website there where people can go back to work as disabled people, right? You got a job and you need not reasonable adjustments, that's what your workplace does. But if you need additional changes to make the workplace accessible to you, meaning you get a job at the same, starting place as other people, so to say, then you need to apply for access to work. But if you do apply for access to work and you don't make just shy of 7,000 in the first year, then the reason we need that GoFundMe is because at that point, access to work is stopped. Now, the thing is, it took access to work over a year to get to me when I first applied after COVID, 20 months actually. So by the time they came, I had to have made the minimum income guarantee, that's just shy of 7,000 in the first 12 months without them there. Now, the rule is silly because after the first 12 months, if you haven't made the minimum income guarantee, access to work have the right to come back and say, oh no, we're not going to grant you another award, which means access to work stops. And then that person can't continue in that employ without those reasonable adjustments, generally without those additional helps. And so that business closes. And in fact, the government tried in the last year a couple of programs. They tried something called Access to Work Plus, and that's an absolute flop. And I'd love to hear anyone that had any success with that. But all I could see that it was badly run with a really, really poor assessment system, and people just didn't get what they needed. 100 people went through that program, and I was only party to 2 or 3 of the assessments, and they were awful. But we have to try new things, right? And then the other one that the government have tried in the last 3 years, I think it's 3, is that if you go to the job centre, you can meet somebody called a work coach. A work coach, not a job coach, a work coach. And the work coach helps to prepare for the workplace. So prepare things like, well, you'd be better off like this, or you'd be better off like that, or if you do this, this happens. The problem I have is that those work coaches are employed by the Department for Workers and Pensions. And whilst they are, lovely people, their training is skewed towards minimizing income from benefits as opposed to maximizing income for the person, in that I am being told regularly that people are being informed of rules that actually are quite grey, in that the rules of the benefit system are quite grey, in that if you are paid a certain amount, that would mean that in 1 week your universal credit, these are the changes, and this is important to talk about, mean that you wouldn't be entitled to those benefits during that week, for example. So there's an earnings limit. If you make it, your universal credit just goes, or your tax credit. If you're on ESA, that goes. If you're on universal credit, it can fluctuate, and some days they will pay you and some weeks they won't. But actually it's quite difficult because the way that it's being sold is everybody get off ESA, and the truth is it couldn't be less safe to get off ESA right now. So I think that coping strategy support is necessary. You're given between 12 and 24 hours. I asked for 2 hours a month for an individual. That's paid to us through the Access to Work scheme. So we are free at point of delivery, and we are an organisation that will work with you from the day you apply. So the day that you put your application in, from that day we are funded. If you come through this website, the a2w.me, then you can get a coping strategy support coach for 24 hours over the time that you want to access that flexibly over that year. And we will help you to access that money from our bill. We won't be charging you, we'll be charging Access to Work through your grant. So that helps, really important. It's helpful because it helps you get to the point that you're going to make that minimum income guarantee. And what we've done to circumnavigate this really big challenge is I began a GoFundMe. Now, I began a GoFundMe originally on Clubhouse, which is where you'll come on Monday morning at 6, Monday night at 7, and then obviously on Saturday we're here in Belonging in Business at 8. So it goes 6, 7, 8, just in case you forget. 6 on a Monday morning, 7 on a Monday night, and 8 on Saturday morning in LinkedIn and everywhere else. And it's great to see everybody here, by the way. I'm not ignoring you. I am, however, finding it difficult to multitask, read the comments and be around. But we're doing it. So on Monday night, come along and we'll be talking to you about this Entrepreneurs Club, which is what we've got on the GoFundMe. I began 3 years ago. I began by raising money to get a hand cycle, and that hand cycle I then trained for a year, hand cycling in the gym and on the roads. And last summer, I was helped by Inclusion, the group of people that have gathered together to help with these government challenges, and to lobby the government alongside me. And we created a GoFundMe for the Hand Cycle Marathon. Now, the Hand Cycle Marathon, I think somebody will have to tell the amount, but probably is coming up to something about £8,000. We are not short of that minimum income guarantee already been met, and then the money that they will need to get the coaching until access to work get here. So we are not far off. We're going to be crowning that disabled entrepreneur, that first person that's going to be crowned our inclusion disabled entrepreneur, not an entrepreneur, an entrepreneur. Why an entrepreneur? Well, because you've got to be an entrepreneur to be self-employed and in business, but to be disabled or have an intersectionality and be self-employed, well, that's ultra, right? So we create ultra. That's all we create in inclusion. There is no ordinary. We just don't have it. And we're creating that first disabled entrepreneur that will be crowned and given that minimum income guarantee, meaning that when access to work get here, they're already on their way to their second year of business. And I feel that gives people a chance, an opportunity, a window, a breathing space, a time to be in inclusion and train and deliver and help and support and create and collaborate. And that's what I would like. I would like those people who feel that they don't have the skills to be in business, the ones that don't feel that they have the articulation, the ability to go on stage and speak their mind, the ability to work with other people, the ability to speak to people about their trade and what they want to do, to come to inclusion and practice. Come on Monday night and help me deliver. Learn those skills alongside me as we help deliver the Entrepreneurs Club, and we help deliver, well, just a group of individuals of like mind playing a good game together and circumnavigating, managing and sorting out the rules of being disabled in the UK. Do you know, in our 4 nations, access to work is different. There are different rules for Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland, in Scotland than in England. Now in Wales they're the same, but delivery in Wales is different, and Student Finance England and Student Finance Wales work completely differently. So if you think that just because you're in the UK, well, if you go onto Google, you'll find out what's going on. You have to know what's going on in each of our 4 nations, in each of the areas, and regionally when it comes to your care and support, and for your NHS, and indeed regionally in Wales, some health boards are collaborative, so they work in partnership with the local community, local authority, and some are separate. So even when it comes down to who funds what and how, you really do need an inclusionist. That's what you need, and that's what we're creating in inclusion, funnily enough. People who understand how to be included and how to include you. We used to call them citizen advocates. Now I think inclusionist is really it. It's just somebody that understands how to make sure that society reflects society, and where there are challenges in that, then circumnavigating those challenges. And we're at 7.5k at the moment. I've just been told 7.5k. Who could have imagined that we could have created 7.5k after we raised the money for the hand cycle? I raised 4.5 for the hand cycle and put 4.5 myself. That's a lot of money that we pulled together, people. That's £12,000. Now, for everybody else, that might be a little bit, there's people create millions just in one charity dinner. And maybe one day we will have some amazing people putting on a charity dinner for the Disabled Entrepreneurs Club. That would be amazing. And I would really like some help to make that happen. And maybe some donations. I would love to do a charity auction in aid of the Disabled Entrepreneurs Club. And if there's anybody out there that would be willing to put something snazzy on and make sure we all look amazing to do it, then, I'm up for that. But I can't do any of this on my own, which is why we've got the GoFundMe. It's why we need to create disabled entrepreneurs. It's why we're better together. And it's why we need to be just playing that good game at inclusion. The reason that I started the business is not because that was the thing I wanted to do in the middle of my social work degree. Believe me, it was the last thing I wanted to do. but I had a job in education in that disabled students allowance, and I couldn't get the help that I needed, and I couldn't get access to work to respond. And so a lady came and was referred to me who I'd worked with before, and trained with actually, and she referred a client of hers, the partner of a client of hers, and that was an access to work client. And so I applied for access to work for that individual to help them. I fought for them to be heard in the workplace, and that was my first client, back this time after COVID. And so the result of that was when her access to work claim came through, and I was indeed given her strategy coping support for the first 24 hours. I then incorporated the business, and the rest really is just history. We are heading for our a good 6 months. First 6 months of this year, and the second half of this year is looking even better. But why did I do it? Well, I had to, in order that I could manage my own access to work program. I had to because I knew that disabled students' allowance services were going to change dramatically, and this summer they have. So I knew that my job was going to change, and so I had to prepare. But most of all, it was because I wanted to create the income that could create the opportunity for disabled people to start working in the industry that we are helping people to go to work who are like us. Because who better to help disabled people be disabled people than other disabled people? I don't think that we need to be exclusive to be inclusive, but I have to say that for the people that have come through as strategy coaches that haven't had the processes that we've had to go through, it's quite a disadvantage. And so if you're somebody that wants to know about those processes, maybe for your family, maybe for yourself, inclusion is a great place to come and learn those without having to get a job and not know how to do that job without having lots and lots of training. So if you want to know an awareness about inclusion, then come along. If then you want to move into the disability, accessibility and inclusion world through access to work, then you can very easily then start to slide over to that paid provision. But it is very important to me that we work collaboratively and we work together. And as a result, we are just better together as a charitable organisation, but then as my corporate arm, really holding and supporting and being alongside. The growth and development of the people in inclusion is just as, if not more important than those that are being funded through accessibility partners, because the whole point of access to work is to facilitate the 1 in 5 in the UK to go to work, to be at work, to remain at work, and to feel useful at work. You know, they say that we have a sick note culture. Well, the reason that we have a sick note culture is because the system behind being ill doesn't hold anybody. It doesn't. I would like to say that if you have an accident tomorrow and end up in a hospital, that what you'll find is a collaborative, connected and cohesive delivery of your rehabilitation services that help you back into the community as quickly as possible, back to work and back engaging in family and home life. But unfortunately, it's quite a discombobulated, disaffected and disparate system that really is very easy to fall between the cracks, and many people do. We have exponential levels of mental health problems and exponential levels of misunderstanding how to navigate the system. And as a result, we have exponential levels of people who would be entitled to universal credit but don't know how to manage the system, that would be entitled to personal independence payment but don't know how to apply for it, that would be entitled to access to work, but really I'm being told large corporates just can't be bothered with the length of time it takes, the difficulty they have in accessing it, and then to understand the system, only to, what it seems like, end up with very little at the end, like, oh, we'll give you, I don't know, a copy of Grammarly to help with your dyslexia. Well, guess what? Probably the workplace already has a subscription to Grammarly. So I make it sound very negative, but it isn't. If you have somebody like a strategy coach from Accessibility Partners alongside you, well, you'll find that you have pretty much all of the keys to open all of the doors to all of the things that you need in order that you can, over time, learn to circumnavigate the very stressful and discombobulated systems that we have to circumnavigate and take part in as disabled people. That really is the key and the lock to unlocking your potential through the Access to Work programme. We also have clients who've come to us for the Access to Work programme who really wanted to go to school. Now, currently, we don't provide disabled students allowance because I've fallen out with Student Finance England. When I say I've fallen out with them, I don't feel I can be a provider at the moment because the rates of pay they are paying qualified SENCOs and ELENCOs is really very disgraceful. You see, they're not actually paying them that. They're paying it via a third party. And it's really very difficult to be paying people at, well, I've got people who I know that have to have 3 and 4 degrees. That's an undergraduate in the specialist subject that they have, a postgraduate certificate in education, so a PGC, a teacher's qualification, a master's degree in specific learning difficulties, and then 6 modules in autism or another master's degree in autism and other types of neurodivergence, and then a level 4 psychotherapy qualification or counselling qualification. And they're getting £27 an hour. That's the national provider of disabled students allowance. At the bottom dollar, those triple educated practitioners are getting £27 an hour before tax or before self-employment tax challenges. And if you haven't got a good accountant, it's going to get rid of those over taxing. I think it's some crazy percentage if you're earning above the earnings limit, but even below it is. So, you know, if you're looking for whether you want to be in work, whether it's something about work, whether it's about being disabled, whether it's about understanding who and what and how you are as a disabled people again, maybe it's about your identity, maybe it's about making friends, maybe it's about the fact that every 12 weeks you'd quite like to come out of your house and go rah 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 about something. We're going to be rah rah rahing on the 19th about voice, you know, LLais. And I will just finish with a little bit about voice, because I feel like I have gone on just a long time about accessibility partners, about inclusion, and about us. But it is all about us. It's all about us, and it's all about us in the 4 nations. But I believe that what we do in Wales, we're going to be doing in England in 15 years' time, okay? So for those of you that aren't Wenglish or Welsh, I'm sorry, because you're missing out. And you're missing out because Wales is fantastic. Now, not only is the heart of Wales fantastic, but the history of Wales is fantastic. But the greatest thing of Wales is the people, is the people. And the National Assembly for Wales, so where the Welsh devolved government run, is the Senedd. And I have been working alongside the Senedd, training with them in the last year with Equal Power, Equal Voice. Voice, you notice, voice. And the National Lived Experience Panel for Wales is called Voice, or LLais. And my surname is Lace. Now, Wales is known for the concept of civil rights, of fair and advocate change and justice since time began, really, from the Reformation to the way that you can go and look at BBC Wales, BBC Cymru Wales, and the BBC in Wales on the radio. Devolution has given us a different voice in Wales. It's given a universal voice, a voice that is, let's be honest, it comes from the Labour Party being part of a universal approach in Wales, although it's a coalition, remember. We've got the Welsh working with, I think it's Pride Cymru here, and also the Welsh Conservatives, and then also, you know, Labour. I just feel that, like, I've been talking about the fact that we collaborate accessibility partners and inclusion, and we have a major collaborator from adaptability, where our OMIOs, our personal mobility devices, come from, and also a number of other organisations that partner with us. But our major one is adaptability. All of us work together, and we work together online to create our voice. But it's really important that each of us understand that we can create our own voice for our own life that we deem is worth living. You know, how I choose to live is not how anybody else chooses to live. I get up at 4 in the morning. There's a reason I do that. It's because I go to bed really early on at night. And I like mornings. I like watching the sunrise. They call it the miracle morning, the 5 a.m. miracle morning. If anybody wants to know what that is, go and look. There's a book about it. And during that hour, I spend it on me. I spend it on meditation, on breathing right, on drinking my water, on drinking my Ganoderma luteum coffee. That's the reishi mushroom. That's the mushroom of everlasting life. Of doing my breathing, of doing my meditation, of listening to good music, and of learning every day. I learn and read and write during my first hour, whether that's listening to an audiobook or a blink, or reading something, or listening to my coach. That's what I'll be doing, as well as meditating and exercising and stretching and all of that magnificent 7 I do for the hour. So you don't need to live like me, but you do need to learn how to live like yourself. And I believe that inclusion on a Monday helps us helps us learn to do that. I also think that getting up for Motivational Monday at 6 o'clock every week is also good for everybody, but it's great for me. I'm there on a Monday morning talking about my week ahead and telling you what the focus is, and giving you just an idea of something that comes from my coaching sessions every week, a different tidbit, a different technique, a different idea, a different perspective. And that's free of charge. Where can you get all of that training for no money? All for you to do what you want with your voice and your hope and your dream and your who and what and how you are. We work in a smart way in inclusion. We also work in the same way in accessibility partners. And the way through to us is to go to one of these websites. So I would like you to go to your Access to Work Me if you want to go to work. But if you'd like to work with inclusion, and you'd like to come on a Monday night and see us and meet us and get to know us and talk to us and talk to other people that have been working with us for all of those months and weeks, then that's where you need to come. And we are the ones that have written to the government, written to the Office of the Deputy Prime Minister, got the Minister for Disabled People to take the Access to Work application date down to 2 weeks for a new job. It was 20 months. So we shot ourselves in our own foot, because now Access to Work here after 2 weeks of a new job. So if you apply for a new job and get it, and you apply for Access to Work and you make that application, they're going to call you, or email you if you're sensible and you didn't give them your number, in 2 weeks. It's very quick. Although, of course, I'd like them to ring before the job, really, or at the job when you're offered the job. I'd like Access to Work to turn up and say, hello, we're here, you've got a job, welcome. But that's not quite how it works yet. So if you'd like to come along on Monday night, then please do. The link is in the chat, I believe. I think people have been amazing. We are these. So I run Accessibility Partners. If you want to find out about the Access to Work programme, we are about 2 or 3 weeks on responding at the moment, even though my team is growing and we've just taken on 3 more strategy coaches. We are working well to maintain our speedy response to you, so bear with us. But if you want to put in the application or inquiry form, then please go there. And if you'd like to know who I am, I'm Mandy-Jayne LLais. So if you need to find me, have a look on social media. I'm pretty much everywhere. But my mother put a hyphen in my name and a Y. I asked her why, and she said, well, people will remember you, Mandy-Jayne. And I said, yes, but how will they remember me? Just because I was a pain, you know. They couldn't spell my name. So there we are. It's why people know me as MJ. I like to think that's Spider-Man's girlfriend, although all the other MJs are just as talented and just as capable. But Spider-Man's girlfriend seems to be the one that the young people like. I am neurodivergent. I have an AU ADHD diagnosis. That means I am ADHD and autistic. I also have a dyslexic-like learning style. but I'm a dyslexia tutor. So never let it be said that because of a diagnosis or a label that you can't be who and what and how you are, and you can't become anything that you want to become, because you can. It just takes time and practice through progress. That progress happens through practice, and I am relentless at turning up every day for myself and for you. So I will be here again on Monday morning. Well, not here, but I will be online. We live stream. If you can't find us in Clubhouse, if you haven't downloaded that, then you're missing a party trick. You really are. Download Clubhouse, because it's about to morph into a token gated community, and I am ready with a nice crypto pot ready to play with, and I can't wait till you come and join. If you don't know what an NFT is, if you don't know what crypto is, if you've never dealt with Coinbase, if you don't know how to have a token gated community, you really need to be in MJ's house, because that's where it's happening. Monday morning at 6 o'clock, on Monday night in the same Clubhouse in Arena at 7, and then we jump over to our Zoom or our stream at 8:30 for 8 o'clock, when we deliver to the world, just like we're going to be delivering to the world on the 19th of June. So if you're around then, that's great. We are then again in Sunderland on the 4th of July. 4th of July, we're in Sunderland at Rise North. And between that time, I think it might be the 29th of June, but don't quote me, I'm on in Cardiff at the Curve. I am on in Inclusion, for Inclusion at the Curve, doing my sit down my sit down set. It's not like I'm going to stand up, is it? But I'm doing some comedy stand up for 5 minutes in aid of inclusion, and that's just at the end of June. So really, in the next 6-8 weeks, we have got it all going on, culminating with Independence Day, where we are crowning the first disabled entrepreneur. Between now, the 4th of May and the 4th of July, that is, well, 3 months. The next 12 weeks is just going to be so phenomenal. And in that time, I also complete the work for the culmination of the first 2 years of this degree. So the diploma in social work, the work should be in at that point for all of that, culminating in my last year, where I will be doing my extended study and my extended placement, studying something in my final year that is just, well, close to home. I reckon it's called inclusion. What do you reckon? And I think it's probably going to be about finding our voice, our national voice, our international voice, our inclusion voice, because we are just better together. I am going to be party to next year the understanding of co-production. Co-production for me is when the third sector and the frontline services and corporate work together to create a common solve for a commonly experienced problem. And I think we probably know what the problem is, don't we? The problem is I can't use a tube with my wheelchair. The problem is that going into the House of Lords, there's only one wheelchair space. The problem is that I can't really get on a coach easily because the toilets aren't accessible, and the planes haven't really thought about leaving me with my chair so that they don't throw it into a cargo at the bottom of the plane and then lob it down a conveyor belt. And my OMI owes 25 grand. So if you're going to throw it off a plane, it's £25,000. I can't afford to replace it. And you know what? The DWP won't. So the problem is that we need to connect the dots. And the solution is we need to ask the people that need the dots connecting how to connect them best. We need to find the solution with the people that we need the solution with. And we need to work together collaboratively, because that's the only way we can find real solutions that really work. I don't want people to create things they're not going to use and they don't understand what I need. I'd like to tell them why it's useful to do it that way, so that they understand. Imagine if the toilet roll holder was created in a way that nobody knew how to use, or in a way that was just cross awkward. You would test these things. That's what inclusion's for. We need to test bed, we need to practice, we need to feedback, and we need to collaborate. And so we need to co-produce. And so 2025 has to be the year of co-production, real co-production, not lip service cherry picking disabled and intersectional individuals to showcase them as if we've got the tick box on our HR exercise. No. When society reflects society, that's when society is happy, and I'd like to be happy, and I can't be part of a happy society unless society looks like it is. Because the dissonance, the gap, the incongruence between what we really are and then how it looks, that's the problem we've got. That's the reason everybody's sad. That's why there's all the obfuscation. That's why there's all the clouding. That's why there's all the fibbing. That's why there's all the pretending. That's why we're all pretending to be busy, but we're not really. I don't mean all of us, all the time, everywhere, but you know what I mean. So let's not play that game. Let's not use all of our energy pretending so that we get away with the thing that we're pretending. Let's not do that. Let's actually look at solutions for a problem. And when the solution doesn't seem apparent, or when the problem seems too big for us to solve, let's get more people to solve it rather than ignoring it. So I'm not going to go on anymore. I know I can. You have been in Belonging in Business, and we have been talking about voice. Or in Wales, anyone can tell me how you say that. It's something like face. I don't know. Face. I can't say it. Somebody's going to have to teach me to speak Wenglish. I tried to get Welsh language lessons last year, but only teachers were being trained, trainee teachers, not trainee social workers. Now trainee social workers can access it. The course was too long for the placement I'm on, so it would have been going on until September, and I'm not there over the summer. So far I've yet to access a Welsh language course as part of my course, but I imagine that's going to be a different subject for a different day, maybe after I've graduated. Although wouldn't it be exciting if under the Welsh Language Act I'd have asked if I could have delivered or received my degree in Welsh, which you're allowed, by the way. That's why Wales is so special, because under the Welsh Language Act I'm allowed to access my learning in the subject in the language that I need. I can't imagine our course being delivered in Welsh, but it would be lovely to see, and maybe one day, maybe I will be able to speak fluent Welsh one day, who knows. But voice in Wales is important, whether or not it's in English or it's in Welsh, and we are in Wales, but that's part of the Four Nations. So I believe that Wales needs to be the leading of our Four Nations in showing the universal way, in showing the way together, of showing we're better together, of showing that playing a good game together is the only way, because until society reflects society, we genuinely won't have a good game to play. And any game that we set up, well, it'll be like cheating at Monopoly, being the banker and hiding some of it away and pretending it doesn't exist. A bit like the government are doing with the welfare benefits right now. Cheating at Monopoly when you're running the government isn't right, and I'm not accepting it. So we're coming. We're coming as part of Equal Power, Equal Voice. We're coming as part of the Senate. We're coming as part of the universal approach, and inclusion's on the way. And we announced ourselves, well, a couple of years ago, when we wrote to the Office for the Deputy Prime Minister and said, these parameters aren't okay for us to get to work. And now I'm a stakeholder. I pay 20% of anybody that works for my organisation that we employ of their £66,000 help. I am a stakeholder. Accessibility partners have bought their place at the table, and inclusion are about to do the same. So let's all collaborate. I'd love to see you on Monday morning, actually, if you can get out of bed on Bank Holiday Monday at 6 o'clock. And I'm not changing the time. I'm not making it later, because actually I have things to do on Bank Holiday Monday. I need a day off. I need the day to myself. I need some space. So we will be normally at 6 o'clock on a Monday morning, 7 o'clock on Monday night. As always on this bank holiday, it won't make a difference to me. I'm sorry, but I just keep on keeping on. I believe that consistency is key for me to succeed in these aims, and my next 12 weeks aims are solid. And they're our aims, because we're better together. We are in the last minute, and seriously, you have been just the greatest audience, the most incredible people in the chat, and all of those leaving me messages on my phone. Thank you so much. I have been here for you for the last hour. We've been together for nearly 60 minutes. It's what you get in every coping strategy session. Believe me, I squeeze every second I can out of every hour that I work with a client. And there are so many times that we need to be working together. I have 3 hours coaching a week, For those that don't think that they need a coach, I have a therapist, I have a mentor, and I have a study skills specialist. I believe in coaching, and I believe in practice, and I believe in therapy, and I believe in progress. And I also believe that whether or not you've had a difficult background, and I've had one, adverse childhood experiences are subject specific, and they are there to help us learn. And when we've experienced them, we can grow through them. Post-traumatic growth is even greater than post-traumatic trauma. So if you feel traumatized, then turn it on its head and use that for your post-traumatic growth. Come to inclusion. Come on Monday morning. Get out of bed and decide what you're going to do with your day. And come and share it with us the first hour. All right, I've been Mandy-Jayne. You have been in Belonging in Business, and we've just gone on to at the top of the hour. You've been talking about voice. Come and get yours. Come and speak yours. Come and share yours. Come and tell me what you think. And if you want to tell me what you think of this streaming, then tell me on the back channel. Go on, talk to me. A day. Tell me what you think about what we're doing. Tell me what you think about access to work. Tell me what you think about accessibility partners and inclusion. Tell me what you think about the fact that this is what I've been doing for a living for the last 2 to 3 years so that I could pay my way to become a social worker. Necessity is the mother of all invention, my mother used to say, and I think she was right. So thank you, Carol, and thank you to everybody that listened. I have been MJ, and you've been in Belonging in Business, and I'll see you on Monday morning at 6 o'clock. Have an absolute 2 months, unfortunately. Is that May, June, July? Yeah, you're right. 2 months, 8 weeks, not 12. The next 8 weeks. You know what that means? It means July. Well, the world is our oyster. And August, it's even better. I'm so excited, and so excited that we've got 8 weeks of just excitement to get to the culmination of this year. Oh my goodness, what a summer. The sun's out, the water's on Cardiff Bay, and I'm going to go and do some coaching. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great bank holiday weekend. Bye-bye.